The first step is that the CT tech actually brings the scanner in. In our situation, they bring it in the night before. And we have marks on the floor in terms of whether it's head first or feet first, and I post it appropriately. So generally the table and the scanner are in the room while the nurses are setting up. At that point, anesthesia brings the patient in on a gurney, and they will anesthetize the patient because the vast majority of our cases we're doing prone. So they anesthetize them on the gurney. Once all the IVs have been started, the Foley's been inserted, then we turn the patient to the prone position on the trump table. And at that point, we do a collision check. One of the things that can be done is that the instruments can be calibrated anywhere along the procedure. And for us, it varies. So sometimes they're calibrated while we're positioning the patient, and the nurse will calibrate the instruments at that time. There are other times that it may be done while we're prepping and draping, or it could be done while we're exposing the spine, so that all that's done before we're ready to actually use them. If we were going to do a percutaneous case, again, we have two options. My preference is to attach the clamp to a spinous process, so I'll make a small incision, attach the clamp to that. An alternative is to place 2 pins in the iliac crest. Once the patient's prepped and draped and the clamp is attached, you're ready to scan. We then place a clear plastic drape over the patient, and we have the anesthesiologist move the table to that preset position for scanning. Once then the table's in the position to do the scan, everybody would leave the room except for the nurse anesthetist, who has lead on, and they would step back from the table and do the actual scan while everybody else was outside of the room. And then folks would return to the room, we would reposition the scanner in the table, take the drape off, and by the time we had done that, the images would have been sent to Brainlab, and we would be ready to implant screws. It's important that you check with the pointer on known anatomic landmarks and make sure that it is as accurate as you want, and then reposition the table to the operative position. You're ready to operate and insert screws. And again, on average, it takes 6 to 8 minutes. Then generally at the end of the case, I'll take an x-ray showing the position of the screws, but I will not rescan. If anywhere along the line I'm concerned about any of the screws, then I will rescan at the end. When I do rescan, I usually rescan at 10 to 20% less than what the original scan was. So for me, the advantages of Airo is that it's a true 32-slice CT scanner. So that means that there's less scatter radiation and better image quality than the cone-based systems. Along with that being a true CT scanner, it allows a larger field of view. So, for example, I could scan from the skull down to the sacrum, and it takes about 45 seconds to do the entire scan. It also allows me to adjust radiation dosage by working with Airo, so it allows me to have lesser radiation dosage for patients. And it's got the largest bore of any of the scanners that's out there. So with that, I've been able to not have to compromise how I position the patient in order to be able to scan intraoperatively. And then the image quality. So to date, I've not found a patient or a part of the spine that I've not been able to image adequately using intraop CT with the Airo. And then finally, it allows auto registration. So from the time I scan to the time I'm ready to put in screws is a matter of seconds because it auto registers.